Hello everyone, are you tired of looking at the rose blanket? Today, Tez is teaching you how to hook this more spring-like and simpler lily of the valley flower. Everyone can see that the leaves of this one are simpler, and the flowers are also directly hooked on, no need to sew back and forth. I measured it, and this blanket is about 1 meter one. Let's start by crocheting the main part of the carpet now. First, we'll do a round starting chain. Bring the thread over and crochet 2 braid sticks as the standing chain for the long occasionally, not counting as a row. In the first row, we'll crochet 12 long occasionally into the string. The hook wraps around the thread and brings it through the loop, then wraps again. It goes through 2 loops, then wraps again through the last 2 loops. This forms a long occasionally, which looks like an V. Newbies can use a marker to keep track. Continue crocheting long occasionally into this ring. This is the second one. You try it yourself. There are 12 long occasionally in total in the first row. Check if there are 12 versus or needle. After finishing 12 long occasionally, pull the circle tightest possible, take out the first occasionally's marker, and connect it with the first occasionally. Every row after that should be connected with the first occasionally. Just bring the thread over directly, and that's a slip stitch. For the second row, start with 2 braid sticks, not counting as rows. The pattern for the second row is like this. Each needle occasionally produces 2 long occasionally. This is something newbies can use a marker to keep track of. This row needs to be continued with another long occasionally increasing row. After completing a row of long occasionally increasing rows, hook 1 braid row and move on to the next row for the second long occasionally increasing row. After finishing this row, hook another braid row. This pattern continues around the circle. Everyone can continue from here. The final long occasionally increasing row also requires a braid row at the end. Take off the first row's marker loop. We connect each row of balls back to the first row's pull-up. The second row is finished, and the third row. Each row starts with 2 braid rows as starting rows, not counting frames. The pattern for the third row is 1 long occasionally increasing row. 1 long occasionally increasing rows increase. After that, hook another braid row, repeating this 12 times. I'll demonstrate the second group now. In the next groups, we will encounter a braid row directly skipped over. A braid row corresponds to the one above it, which does not need to be hooked. We are building upon the long occasionally increasing row. So in the second group, after the long occasionally increasing row, there is an additional long occasionally increasing rows increase.
Yes.
After that, hook another braid row, corresponding to the one below it. Now everyone can start hooking themselves. Hook another braid row after that, connected to the first row's pull-up. That row is finished. After each round of drawing, we use 2 braid needles as standing pins, and then it doesn't count as frame rate, so we still need to crochet inside this needle. I'll directly teach everyone to look at the pattern, because it's all repeating down. In the previous circle, there's a long needle, and when a long needle plus a needle is hooked out, there are 1, 2, 3 long needles. So this circle is where we hook. 2 long needles, and then the last needle with the last hook, 1 with the extra needle. I'll demonstrate it to everyone. 1 long needle, 2 long needles, and then the last one with the long needle ends with a braid needle. Because each of our groups is separated by a braid needle, the next group has 1 long needle, 2 long needles, and the addition of long needles. It's just this kind of pattern. 2. Then the last needle with a long needle adds a needle. After hooking a braid needle, it's equivalent to saying every row and every set of us. It's always done on the last weekend, with a long hook that corresponds to a long needle at the beginning, and then this long needle is done with an extra needle at the end. This is the pattern of the circle. So in our fourth circle, it's 2 long needles, and 1 long needle with an extra needle. Everyone, go crochet yourselves and hook out the 12 sets. After each 12th set is hooked, there's still 1 braid needle left, so don't forget. Then connect it with the first lead and pull. Continue to stand up with 2 braid needles and start the next circle. Let's continue to take a look. Then the previous circle will have 2 long needles, 1 long needle plus a needle. If you hook it out, there will be 4 needle points, right? So our circle is 1, 2, 3 long needles, and demonstrate the addition of a long needle to the last needle.
1.
Okay. 3, then add a needle to the last syringe. After hooking a braid needle, continue to crochet the next set. This blanket is getting bigger and bigger. We no longer need to count how many rounds we have. We just need to put each group together. Since there are 12 groups in total, we just need to remember the pattern of each group. The hook for the long one corresponds to the long needle. Just tip the last pin and add one more needle. This circle consists of 3 long needles, then the next circle will be 4 long needles, one with an extra needle. Everyone will start crocheting downwards like this, and continue crocheting downwards. The 12 lines will become more and more obvious, which means the braid of needles in the middle of us. Just keep ticking down like this, no need to count the number of laps anymore, everyone will remember. For each long stitch, make an additional stitch at the last point of the needle. This lying down will evenly add stitches downward, turning it into a circle. You can lay it out on this flat surface to have a look, and it will add needles down very evenly. Everyone can hook this blanket to the size they want, and then we can hook its leaves and edges. The main body has already taught everyone, so let's start hooking the leaves now. Just pick any needle and start the thread, then hook a braid to lock it in place. Lock the needle and hook a short needle first. Then hook 5 braids, and the needle 12,345 clears 2 needles to go to the 3rd needle groove. Remember to hide the needle at the end of the thread. 5 braid needles. Just do it like this. Repeat control with 2 stitches of crochet, and then 5 braid stitches. Just like this, 1 short needle, 5 braid needles, the short needles 5 braid needles loop and crochet. Here, if you encounter a braid needle, you also need to factor it in. For example, the 3rd stitch in the 1st and 2nd control settings is a transformer needle. We can just hook a short needle directly at the braid needle, which also needs to be taken into account. After finishing 5 braided needles, we will connect them with the 1st short needle here, stand up for a stitch, and start the 2nd circle. The 2nd circle consists of 2 chains, one for the flower stand and one for the leaf. The 1st chain is a flower stand. First, hook a short needle into this chain, then 3 braided needles. 2, 3, then we need to repeat this pattern 3 times. First hook a long needle. Next is a braid needle. This is a continuation of the long needle. A braid needle, a 2nd long needle. A braid needle, this is the 3rd time, then we are going to recycle it. Continue crocheting a long needle, 3 braid needles. Then come back and hook a short needle, so that both sides are symmetrical. Okay, let's move on to the next chain. We'll hook the leaves, hook a short needle, 7 braid needles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then the 4th to last stitch, 2, 4, pick half of the braid. We're not going to regulate the soreness anymore, we'll just pick half of the braid. It's relatively simple, do an extraction, then 3 braid needles. Go back to this chain, hook a short needle, and then it will be its leaf. Isn't it much simpler than the rose one? This one is a flower stand, this one is a leaf. The next step is to repeat this pattern, hook 1 flower stand with the 2 chains, and then hook another leaf. Everyone just go crochet and finish this round. Once the leaves are crocheted, it's like this. Now let's go crochet the flowers. This lily of the valley flower is very simple and can be directly hooked on, no need to sew it. First, let's identify where the needles go. Our flower tray has 5 large holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, which are hooked inside these large holes. You need to hook 5 sets of patterns. Take out the flower color thread, bring the thread over, hook a braid, and lock it in place. Then stand up 2 braid needles. We are now going to start hooking 5 unfinished long needles. Crochet the thread into this big hole. Remember to hide this thread and bring the thread over. The crochet is wound around the first 2 coils, and this is an unfinished needle with a long needle. Continue to hook the 2nd one and loop in, bring the wires over, and loop through the first 2 coils. This is the 2nd one, and there are 3 more. I'll do it quickly. 3 or 4. 5. The 5 long needles are not yet finished. Adding the original circle to our coils, there are a total of 6 coils now. The index finger can be inserted inside to loop the wire, passing through 6 coils at once. Place a marker buckle here on this formed V, and it will look better when connected to its lead and pull later. Then lock a braid needle. This is the search needle for the 5 permanent needles, chubby. A bell corridor is made up of 5 chubby jujube needles, so let's go to the next big hole and continue to hook the 5 unfinished long needles. 1, 2 of them, 3 of them, 4. Fifth, use your index finger here to press the crochet hook, loop the line through all the coils and lock one stitch. This way, you've completed the second set. There are still 3 sets left, everyone check them out yourselves. Hide 2 popcorn needles on the thread at the back, and you can cut it off. 5 jujube needle hook peels look like this. Remember to lock a pin after hooking, turn around, and we'll remove the marker to deduct this first pin. It's this pin ball, we don't pull it out in the lock area. It would look better if we pull it out in this marking pin ball. Pull it tight. Now let's hook the last circle and stand up 2 braid needles. Let's take a look at the needle insertion position. The needle insertion position is in the gap between the 2 mourning needles. Here, the waistline is crossed with a long needle, followed by 3 braided needles 1, 2, 3. Here, you need to make 3 braided dog tooth needles. The needle insertion position is in this figure 8 shape. Go in and do a pull directly. This is the dog tooth needle with 3 braids. There will be a sharp tip. Then, in this gap, you need to make a dog tooth needle with 3 long needles and 3 braids, and insert the needle here. Bring the thread over for an extraction. This is the pattern of the last round. We need to make 2 of these long knitted, 3 braid dog tooth needles in each of our 5 gaps. I'll demonstrate another set, going to the next gap, long needles with 3 braids. Go in and pull it out to make a dog tooth needle, and you also need to hook it and poke it in one spot with long needles and 3 braided needles. To do the drawing, we've already done 2 sets, and there are still 3 sets left. Everyone please check them out yourselves. Here's a little trick, because our belt corridor is a circle, so we need to spin around to hook it. At this point, we have to hit our blankets, but the blankets are very large and it's not convenient to spin them. At this point, we shouldn't hit the blankets. For example, it's already inconvenient to hook here now. We have to turn it around. We can just turn this crochet directly now, and this crochet will take a turn, sigh. This gap has returned to our front again, so we can continue hooking. We don't need to hit the blanket now. The unhooked king looks like this. Let's start by pulling up. The pull-up position is where we just stood up with those 2 braid needles. Here, directly enter into this big hole and make a pull-up connection. Tied it up, 1 needle breaks, and the thread ends. Just hide the thread head in a few more rows here. In this way, the bell flower is cut off completely. Isn't that much easier than the rows? That's all for today's tutorial on the carpet. Remember to hand in your homework. Bye-bye, see you next time.